I like to use Mr. Froggy. He's my favorite stuffed animal.
Hello, how are you?
How are you, Froggy? Hello, Teacher Stephanie here with VIPKID, and today I'm talking to you about how to pass your demo or your mock class to get hired with VIPKID. Okay, so I have many tips, about 12 or 13. I'm going to run through them now. So the first one is to make sure that you cover the lesson objective, and that can be different for, depending on which class or which slides that they give you. You need to make sure that you teach the objective of the lesson, and you will see VIPKID should provide you the objective. They should also provide you the sentence patterns. You need to make sure that you've taught the sentence pattern. What sentence or sentences need to be taught to the student by the end of the lesson. Make sure that you hit those. And the vocabulary. So I'm going to give you an example of a class that I taught today, people in my family. People in my family, it's mom, dad, brother, sister. One of the sentences or the questions that they had to answer was, who is he? So there might have been a picture of a family, and I circled the boy, and I said to the student, who is he? And he needed to say back to me, he is the brother. Now, previously to me asking the question, we covered brother. He is the brother. So we already learned that. And then it was time for me to ask, who is he? And the student should say, he is the brother. So you have to make sure that you do elicit the actual sentence that they're supposed to learn. And the vocabulary. So the vocabulary for this lesson was family, people, mom, dad, brother, sister. And I had to make sure that we covered each of those at some point on the slides. And it has to be very specific. Don't say brothers, don't say sisters. I mean, you can, as long as you taught brother, sister at some point. So make sure when you teach the vocabulary, you're teaching it exactly how it's written down. Whatever VIPKID gives you, make sure that you're saying the words exactly as they're written and teaching the words exactly as they're written. So you have to make sure you hit the lesson objective, the sentence patterns, and the vocabulary for the lesson. For your demo, there won't be that much vocabulary. This is 6 words? There won't be that many. There'll probably only be a couple. But make sure that you teach them exactly how they're written. Tip number 2, teach in order vocabulary, sentence, and then question and answer. So if you have a slide that has a vocabulary word at the top and a sentence at the bottom, you're going to teach the vocabulary word first. So for example, I'll use the word runs. 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 So 2 or 3 times you need to have them say the word runs. Now, if it says run, then you're going to have to teach them run. Don't add an S if it's not there. But I'm using the word runs for an example. And at the bottom, it says she runs. So now I'm going to teach the sentence. She runs. And I might pull out a prop. She runs. Okay, great. So now the child has learned the vocabulary word and the sentence. Now I'm going to ask a question so the child can answer with the sentence. Who runs? Who runs? She runs. Excellent. Great job. So when I ask the question, who runs? The child should say, she runs. So now they've learned the vocabulary word, the sentence, and they've answered the question with the sentence. So it needs to be taught in that order. Tip number 3, no incidental language. So you're teaching runs, she runs, who runs, she runs. That's it. Don't say, now let's see if you can answer the question. Can you answer this question? Okay, now we are going to do blah, blah, blah. Don't say all of that. It's going to completely dilute the message you're trying to get across, which is she runs. Don't say anything else on a slide that's basic like that. That's called incidental language. It completely confuses the child and they shut down. Don't say, okay, now let's go to the next slide. Like that's just, what that sounds like to them is blah, 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 blah. And then they're going to be like, am I supposed to say that? What did she say? Oh no, I don't know what she's saying. Oh, and then some of them are going to panic and be like, oh my gosh, it's too much for me. So no incidental language. That takes some practice. Even now today, every once in a while, I catch myself, I'm like, oh, shouldn't have said that. That had nothing to do with this slide and it's just too much speech, right? So practice just having silence sometimes when you're moving to the next thing, transitions. Tip number 4, synthetic phonics. Synthetic phonics. You can see a video of synthetic phonics that I created there. I think it's on that side or that side, you'll see it somewhere. Synthetic phonics is using the proper letter sounds for the letters. So we, in America, at least people my age, were taught a, b, k, d. That's not it. So make sure you watch a video on synthetic phonics. A is correct. The vowel sounds are fine. A, E, I, O, U. But B, b, b. It's not b. It's a very small B sound. B. C is k. So it's almost like a puff of air. K. D is d, d. Just the slightest little d, not d. So make sure you watch a video on synthetic phonics and memorize how to say these letters because they are different than the way we were taught. And it does make a difference for the kids. Tip number 5, use instructional and educational TPR. So instructional TPR, and I will also put a video about TPR up there. TPR is total physical response, and it's basically using your body to teach the lesson and get the child to understand your speech and elicit a response. So an example of instructional TPR is to put your finger here when you're saying something that you want the child to repeat. So this is for repeating. She runs. And then you put your hand here to show the child that it's their turn to speak and you're listening. She runs. Okay? Now, another form of TPR would be instructional TPR is to instruct them to circle something on the slide. You can hold up something like this. Circle the ball. Circle the ball. Or you can just use your finger. Circle the ball. Or your mouse. Circle the ball. Circle the ball. All right? Or draw a line. Draw a line. Or draw a line to the ball. Okay, so this is instructional TPR. You're instructing them on what they are supposed to be doing. Repeating, speaking, circling, draw a line. Those are some of the more common. If you want them to stand up, it's this. You want them to sit down, it's that. So that is total physical response. Instructional. Educational would be you're trying to teach them what's on the slide. I see a lion. Okay, so it's using your hands to act out the words. I see a lion. And then they can repeat it. And you can also use fingers to get them to use the proper amount of words in the sentence. I see a lion. So after you act it out, you could then do I see a lion. So they know that those sounds are 4 separate words. They're not running together. And they know to give you 4 words back. Okay? That is TPR. Tip number 6 is modeling. Make sure that especially if you have a lower level student, you may have to model the back and forth exchange. So you might say to them, how are you today? And they just look at you or they repeat back, how are you today? You can use a puppet. I like to use Mickey quite often. Mickey is my neighbor because I live in Florida. I like to use Mickey. Hi, Mickey. How are you? Good to see you, Mickey. Mickey, how are you? I am fine. I am fine. So now you've shown you asking the question, Mickey answering the question. Now you can have the student answer the question. So now you can say, Johnny, how are you? Hopefully they will remember, okay, Mickey said I am fine, so I will say I am fine, or I am happy, or whatever. Sometimes it works, sometimes it takes more repetition to teach the exchange and show the student that they are supposed to be answering your question. The lower level students need a lot more of this. The upper level students understand how the interaction goes in the classroom. Tip number 7. Tip number 7 is to correct the child's pronunciation. So when you are doing the demo or the mock, whether it's with a live person or you're doing it recorded, make sure that you show that you can correct pronunciation. So even if you're doing it recorded, you can pretend that the student you're teaching said the word wrong. So for example, let's say you taught them to say, I catch the ball, and they say catch wrong. So you're going to show that you can put emphasis on one of the words. I catch the ball. So it's putting emphasis on catch, shows that you're correcting catch. Or if they left out a word, a lot of times they'll leave out or the. I catch the ball. So put the emphasis on the, show the 4 words, then cup again. And you can count with them. I catch the ball. Okay, like that. Tip number 8 is show a lot of praise. So once they do something well, it's big thumbs up, it's high five, Johnny, it's yay, awesome, great. I like to use this, yay, great job. A lot of them really like this, and I use it a lot. It could be every once in a while, I'll be like, you're number 1. Can you see that this is Mickey's hand? I don't know. You're number 1. If I'm really feeling energetic that day, I'll be like, woohoo, pull out my streamers, hold it up, show them the different colors, do something exciting. So there's different ways. You can also have your puppet give a high five. I have Minnie. Minnie will come out and be like, yay, you're doing so great. You're doing a great job. High five. Yay. Mwah, mwah. So get excited. Okay, tip number 9 falls right in line with praise. Energy. Have a lot of energy. Shake it up. So especially for the much younger students, when they're looking at their iPad or their computer, you're just a little tiny block of space. You're just like a 2-inch block square. And they might not even, the really little ones might not even know that you're a real person. So it's good to kind of interact in a way that lets them know you're real, you're saying their name if you're able to pronounce their name, or if you know their name, especially if they give you an American name, that's great. So you want to bring that little block of space and make it come alive with a lot of energy, moving forward, moving back, moving your hands, the praise, the high five, all of that is energy too. You're enunciating, loud enough that they can hear. You're speaking with enunciation, and you are smiling, a lot of smiling. The end of a shift, your cheeks should hurt. At least in the beginning, until you build up those cheek muscles. So a lot of energy. You definitely have to do this for your mock. You have to do it for the little kids to keep them engaged. You don't necessarily have to do it for your level 3, 4, and above, because you're more concentrated on the content and having sort of a back and forth exchange. It's not quite as required, but you still want to get excited in between slides and keep the smile on your face at all times. Okay, tip number 10. 3 types of props for your demo. So one prop would be to use a whiteboard, and there should be a slide that will give you the opportunity to use a whiteboard if it means you're blending letter sounds to make a word, or you might want to draw a picture of something because you don't have a prop, you don't have a physical prop. You can draw a picture of it to use as your prop on your whiteboard. Find a way to use your whiteboard at least once in the lesson, even if you're only teaching 2 slides. So a whiteboard is one type of prop. Another type of prop they call realia. So that would be a stuffed animal. I like to use Mr. Froggy. He's my favorite stuffed animal.
Hello, how are you?
How are you, Froggy? And you can, as I said, you can do modeling with the stuffed animal. You can also use a puppet. I guess that would be another form of realia. I would definitely say use a puppet in your demo or mock at some point. Okay, so these are kind of in the same category. So whiteboard, realia, and you also want to use any other type of prop. So that can be like this thing. It can be, you know, a 2D prop. It can be like, let's see, a dinosaur, you know, roar, oops, roar, hello. So some other type of prop. So 3 types of props in your mock or demo lesson. Number 11 is to have a reward system. So in your mock or demo lesson, you are expected to show that you can give 5 stars throughout, spaced out evenly throughout the lesson. So in your when you're actually teaching for VIPKID, you will be giving 5 stars by pressing a star button in the classroom. In your mock or demo class, you may or may not be able to press that star button. So you should at least show that you know to give a star. So you know, after every couple of slides or something, you can say, great job, you get a star, and hold up something. It doesn't have to be, you know, with a smiley face on it. It can be a yellow piece of paper cut in the shape of a star, anything to show star. So that's called the primary reward system, the stars. You also want to use a secondary reward system. So an example of that would be like my fishbowl with fish. So I have this fishbowl. So whenever I give a star, I also give one of my secondary rewards. So this is a fish, and this fish is a sad fish. What color is the fish? It's pink, pink fish. You get a fish in the fishbowl. Now, all of that language I just used, that's a little bit advanced for the demo lesson, because you're supposed to be teaching like a 5-year-old who has very, very basic English. That's kind of what you have in mind as you're teaching the demo lesson. So really, I would just say, you get a fish. Pink fish. You don't even have to say pink fish, but if you want. But you know, it might just be easiest for you to say, you get a fish, and then one fish. I wouldn't go into the fishbowl and all that. Keep it very basic. So I have this mounted on a 9 by 13 inch cookie sheet. They have magnets in the back. And then they do want you to have your reward system visible at all times during the demo lesson. So if I were teaching a demo or mock lesson, I would have this mounted here. Now behind this fabric, I have a whiteboard that's magnetized. So I can put magnets, like stronger magnets, on the back of this, and I can mount it right here. And then every time I, see now there's some glare, so you have to make sure you don't have glare. Every time I give a reward, I'm going to give the star, and I'm going to turn around and put a fish there. You get a fish. If you want, you can pull it close and show them, but you know, if you want, you can just leave it here. Now, this is optional. You might want to have the word reward above it, because I did pass my first mock, but one of the feedback items that the teacher, the mock class mentor, gave me is that I should have had the word reward above it. I don't know anybody who keeps the word reward in their classroom. I don't even keep this mounted back there because it's hard. I have a bad neck. It's hard on my neck to turn around 5 times during class. It's too much for me, and it doesn't really matter once you pass. As long as you're showing the reward, the parents don't care if it's visible all the time. They do want you to use the secondary reward though. So that's rewards. Number 12. Have some sort of a backdrop. It doesn't have to be elaborate. You don't have to have it lit up like this. You don't have to have your name, really. You do just have to have an item. Have it be like a plain background, an item such as a map, an educational item, a map, a poster of the ABCs, something. So it's totally up to you how much you want to like really go all out there. This is available if you're one of my referrals. This printout is available in my Google Drive. If you're not one of my referrals and you want this, you can get it on my Etsy shop, which is linked below. I have many other things, props and rewards and things like that in my Etsy shop. I have this in my Etsy shop too. It's not in my Google Drive though, because you would have my name, but in my Etsy shop, I will personalize your name. You can probably find, actually, I found this map by just doing a Google search, and then I printed it out at Office Depot, and I asked them to do it large, and I laminated it. And you can see there's a little bit of a glare, but my shoulder covers it. I have it positioned just right, and I just have the map of the United States. I wouldn't advise getting a world map because there's been some issues and controversy over some world maps don't have the correct order of China that the Chinese government approves of. So just stay safe and do a United States map if you're going to do a map. Okay, now tip number 13 is sort of like, I don't really know if you need to know this one, but I'm throwing it in there. At this very moment, I don't think that when you're teaching the mock or demo classes, you're using interactive slides, meaning that you or the student can click and move items around the slide. But the interview and mock process, the whole application process changes very frequently. So I'm going to throw this out there. You, at some point, will have to teach, whether or not you do it now or when you're certifying for other levels in the future, you'll have to teach the child how to move the item. So if you want the child to move the ball, you're going to have to show them with your finger, because if they're using an iPad, they're going to move it with their finger. Move the ball. Move the ball. You may even want to have a ball. Move the ball. Okay, so it can take a few times for them to understand what you're saying. Even the parent, even if the parent is there, it can take a few times for them to understand, okay, she wants us to move the ball. Or sometimes you won't know if they're on an iPad or a computer, but if they're not getting this, maybe try this. They might need to use their mouse. Move the ball. Move the ball. Yes, okay? So that is the way you instruct them to move things around the slide. And actually, I was told during one of my mock classes after I was hired that I didn't show, like using my finger to move the ball, I was told was not good enough. I have to show almost like grabbing and dropping it. And I think the language is drag and drop. So like you're grabbing it, you're moving it, and you're dropping it. Drag and drop. I don't know. I'll be honest, I see people doing it so many different ways. It could just be that the mock mentor for my particular day was just being too particular, but they marked my score down because I didn't like drag. Like I used my finger only. I didn't drag and drop. So you might want to do it all three ways to cover yourself. Move the ball, drag and drop. Drag and drop. You're not going to get counted off instructing three different ways. You will get counted off if you don't do it the right way. That's about all I can say about that. Now, again, I don't know for your mock demo lesson if you're going to have to use any interactive slides. At this point, as of this recording, I don't think that you do until you're hired and you certify for other levels. So, okay, those were 13 tips on how to pass your mock and demo lesson. If you are interested in using my referral link when you join, or if you've already applied for VIPKID and you need a person to coach you through the training process, I do weekly and even twice a week live coaching sessions. I offer printouts and things that are on my Etsy shop, but for my referrals, they're free. If you are to record your demo before you actually do it with VIPKID, you can email me the video of you practicing your demo and I will critique it. I offer some very thorough mentoring. If you use my referral link, send me a quick email and let me know that you are using me as your mentor, and I will send you everything that you need and get you started and help you get through the process the right way. All right, I hope you guys have a great day. Good luck and see you soon.